Hey guys, Tune Drift, and we're back with another video. Today I'm going to be showing you how to remove an engine, transmission, and subframe out of Mitsubishi Outlander. So let's get right into it. I'm gonna basically give you an overview of it. Right now, basically, we're gonna make sure we have enough room to, have a lot more workspace. So we're gonna clear these covers. We're gonna remove this core support radiator cover. We're gonna remove the radiator, condenser, bumper, basically get that all out of the way so we have more access to the intake, to the wiring that basically just tucks in a lot. So we're gonna go ahead, start removing a lot of pieces just so we could get a lot more room and a lot more workspace. So I'm gonna go ahead, start disconnecting some of that, and let's get it. All right guys, so we're gonna go ahead and remove this core support. So about a 10 mil here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So we're gonna remove those 10 mils, then we're gonna remove 10 mils here, and then a 10 mil on this side of the bumper, and then a 10 mil on this side of the bumper. So right here, and then we're gonna remove these, it's hard to see, but these clips, and there's some on the bottom, and then we should be able to get this bumper and then core support out, so we have a lot more room. So let's do that. All right guys, and these are those clips at the bottom. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So mainly you got to remove these 5 just so it'll release from the rest. So over here it's already released on this side, so we're gonna go ahead and release those 5 clips over here, and then we should be able to get the bumper out of the way. So we got it off. There's one connector on this side that we have to disconnect, and then there's 2 10mm, so one here and one here. One, it's on the actual car. But anyway, so we got the bumper off. We're gonna get this core support out and then start getting the radiator and condenser out of the way. All right guys, so next is disconnecting this headlight. So there's a 10 mil here, a clip right here, a 10 mil right here, and a 10 mil right here. We already got it disconnected, so just gonna pull it back. And there's a connector right here that we're going to disconnect. So that's about it for the headlight, and then the same on the other side. I'll just let this hang. Same for the other side. I already removed it. And then what's left for the core support right here is 10 mils right here, 1, 2, 3, and it'll release. We're also gonna want to make sure we disconnect these wirings. So disconnect the ground over here, and then we'll want to disconnect these clips that hold the wiring to the reinforcement bar. But anyway, once we get those out and the 10 mil out, we'll be able to lift this out, and then yeah, have a lot more room. You're gonna want to disconnect this too, but this car is getting scrapped, so right now I just cut it, so it doesn't matter for me. So yeah, anywho, so yeah, we're gonna go ahead, disconnect those bolts, and then get this thing out. Once you disconnect those 10 mils, lift this up, and it should almost come out. You'll need to disconnect these connectors. Either you could unplug it by there's a 10 mil right here that you could unbolt, and it'll just come out the entire sensor and everything, or you could actually unplug the sensor like this, but sometimes it's really hard. So if it's easier, just unplug the sensor right here. So anyway, we're gonna remove these 2 clips, 1 and 2, and then the core support should just completely come out, and we'll have access to the radiator and condenser. Next, remove this. You could just pull it out, boom, and then 10 mil here to get out the brace for the battery, 10 mil here and here to get out the battery in general, and then 10 mil right here, and then release this, so you could just start to basically just get this airbox out. Nothing really holding it in besides this clip, and then a rubber fitting in the back. So you're gonna get that out soon. Once we get that out, the battery out, we'll have a lot more room, and we can start disconnecting this hose over here. And while we're at it, we'll also disconnect this cover that has a 10 mil here, and that's about it. So yeah, let's do that. So got the battery out, and this tray just comes out. Then we already disconnected here and the sensor. and at 10 mil, so this should just come up with a little bit of force. Then this cover should come out too with a little bit of force. And then now we have more access. I cut this hose here, you could disconnect it right here. And then same with here, you're gonna disconnect right here, but I cut it. And disconnect here. You're gonna wanna disconnect here, the radiator hose, I cut it. And then you're gonna wanna disconnect over here now that you have the room. Sorry, it's hard to see. But you have room over here to disconnect this radiator hose. In my instance, I'm gonna cut it because I'm not reusing the hoses and this car's getting junked. So yeah, now that we have that release, we're gonna release the hoses on the bottom and then get this radiator out. And then what we're actually gonna do to have even more room though, we could actually right now we could take out the radiator reinforcement bar. So 1, 2, 3, 4 screws, they're 12 mils. So we're gonna get that the reinforcement bar out, and then we'll have even more room to take this out if we want to. We could do it right now right here like this, but yeah, we're gonna go ahead, take out this reinforcement and give us way more room than we need. All right guys, removed all the 12 mils, 4 on this side, 4 on that side, and then right here you can fit the impact gun extension and socket to get to this one. You could do them all with a wrench, or you could do it from impact. It's a lot easier with the impact. Once you get it out, right now it's just sitting on this little slide pin right here. Just lift it up, it comes right out. Make sure you disconnect the sensor. It connects right here at the bottom, and now we have all the room to disconnect this. So 10 mil here, 10 mil here, and then that's about this on that side. We're gonna disconnect this clamp right here, and then this should actually come out like pretty smooth since we already disconnected over here and over there. So yeah, and then we're also gonna disconnect the electrical wiring for it. But yeah, so we got it disconnected. Make sure you depressurize the AC system, or just do it the way I did it. Disconnected 10 mil and stood back because it was under pressure, so took that out. You want to disconnect this connector right here, and then another one by the radiator fan. So you disconnect those, disconnect the clips, and then yeah, it should come out fairly easy. And there, we got all this room to work with now. Now we can start disconnecting the wiring harness that connects all around this area under the intake and everything. So we're gonna start disconnecting all of the wiring. Disconnect the intake manifold to get the wiring under that. Get all this excess stuff that's in the way so we could have more room, like these hoses. And then yeah, so once we get the wiring done, we'll disconnect the hoses in the back that connect to like the heater core or the fuel, and then we'll lift up the car and start working on the suspension. So I'm gonna start disconnecting these and we'll get to it. We got a lot of the wiring harness already disconnected. So the wiring right here, just pull this clip, push down, disconnect. Here you're gonna pull this metal clip up, out, and you'll be able to slide it out. Here just push and pull right here. Here same thing, push and pull. Oh wait, this one's a little stuck. There you go, push and pull. This one's the same thing, just a little bit far up. We got the push and pull right here. Same thing going on here. Same thing right here on the throttle body. We want to disconnect that sensor. And then up here, disconnect these clips. You're gonna want to disconnect the fuel injectors. It's kind of hard to see because of the lighting. So push clip 2 to all these injectors. I already disconnected them obviously. And then this one sits right here. So you just want to disconnect that. And then there's 3 10mm to take out this cover, and you can get to the ignition coil, so the coil pack. So push and pull. Sometimes you can wedge like a little pry tool, lift it up and then push it out if it's easier. So disconnect it, just pull this, pull it, and then there's gonna be a clip here and clip here holding in a wiring harness. Already disconnected it, so you just pull that out, pull most of this out, And then there's going to be a sensor down here. Disconnect this, push and pull. It's going to be a clip right here. So this, you just pull this part back and you'll be able to lift it up. And there's one more connector over here, and it's again a push and pull. I mean, yeah, push and pull basically. So then you get your wire out, get all of it disconnected basically out of the way, and then you're gonna want to disconnect this intake manifold. So let me show you how it's done. To remove the intake manifold, it's a lot of 12mm bolts. So there's gonna be one right down here. When you remove this dipstick, and you'll be able to see it down there. 12mm down there too, here and here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 5 holding up the upper. Then there's a bracket right here. 1, 2, remove those, and then you can remove this one and take out the entire bracket or just leave it. Then you're gonna want to remove, there's 2 12mm, one right there and one right here. So once you remove those, there's gonna be one more down there. You're gonna get another 12mm. I think that's it actually. So just, oh yeah, no, there's one more right here. There's gonna be a little bracket that holds it right here. So remove that 12mm, and then, well, this is a bracket. So there's a bracket. Remove that 12mm. Disconnect these hoses. I already cut them, but disconnect them. They connect to the throttle body and the actual intake. You're gonna want to disconnect this hose over here, and then you'll be able to remove the intake. Oh, also, almost missed it. There's a 10mm right here that holds the fuel rail, and then 12mm right here that holds this, and then you'll be able to pull out. All right, guys. So now to remove the intake manifold. I already released it, so just pull out, and there you go. So right here, there's gonna be a clip that holds this wiring to this bottom bracket. To disconnect that, and then this, there's gonna be a clip that holds on to right here. So you're gonna want to release that, and that's it. So you have the intake manifold out, and then you're gonna want to make sure you cover these intake ports. Okay, you don't want nothing getting in there, so make sure you cover it with like a rag or something, tape, anything. Just put it, cover it. You don't want no bolts or anything falling in there and damaging the engine. So cover that. Now we have access to the starter. We have access to disconnect this wire over here, disconnect this right here, disconnect this right here. We'll be able to disconnect the alternator too, and that's it, you know. So we mainly got a lot of the wiring done for the front already. We'll start trailing it over here because it comes down here, starts going down over here. We'll disconnect here, disconnect here. Basically it just goes to the rest of the transmission. We'll disconnect that, and then a lot of the rest we can disconnect the wiring harness from over here, and then the rest we could get once we're underneath the car. But yeah, we'll go ahead, finish up disconnecting the wiring harness over here, and then we'll move on to, you know, going to suspension, take off the wheel and start disconnecting the suspension so we could get the subframe ready to drop, you know, before the engine and transmission. So let's get to that. All right guys, so after you disconnect the alternator and the starter, we'll move back to the side. So on the sides, you'll see there's a clip right here. So pull this yellow piece back and then push, and you'll pull that out. There's gonna be another one right here. It's hard to see. One right here. You're gonna push and pull up. And then there's gonna be a ground right there. Right here, you're gonna want to disconnect that. It's a 10mm bolt on it. Another ground right here, 12mm bolt. Disconnect it. There's a clip right there. Disconnect it. And then you got most of the wiring out right here, right there. There's another one. Push down and pull it. And then since we're in this area, there's a 12mm bolt to hold the transmission cable. So you want to loosen that. I already loosened it. And then you're gonna get a pry bar and pull up against here, pry up against here, and pop it out of place, and just put it to the side so it doesn't get caught. And then as you can see, on this wiring harness, it tucks down back over there, and you could still get to it from the top, but it's easier from the bottom for me, so I'm gonna do it from the bottom. And then if you follow this wiring harness, it goes down here. So right here, it connects here. You're gonna push down, pull here, push down, pull, then goes over there. There's a connector all the way in back, push down, pull, and there's one right here, and we'll get to it once we lift up the car. I'll show you how to disconnect this connector. So yeah, pretty much the entire wiring harness is almost completely just disconnected from the engine and transmission, so there's not too much left that's connected. So yeah. Alright guys, so for this connector, all you do is push and rotate it, and that'll get out of here. So you just rotate this. And then next, the connectors we couldn't reach, there's one right here. Just push down and pry up. And same for this one. This one had kind of like a protector, heat protector, so you're just gonna push down, pull up, and it's right here, and that's it. So there's just one and two connectors, and just get it out of where it sits with the clips, and then it's free. Alright guys, so make sure next we're going to disconnect the suspension. So make sure we disconnect this 32mm nut with impact gun. We're also going to get the tie rod, so this is a 17mm bolt, and you're just going to hit this down. Next, two 19mm, so a 19mm nut, and then a bolt. Get a wrench and an impact. Get it out, get it out. So once you get these nuts off, what you're gonna do is you're gonna hit it with a hammer, hit it out, and then the last thing is disconnecting this. So you're gonna want to disconnect the link. So get a 14, and then just hold it on this side with channel locks, and it should come out. So, or if it doesn't cut it, if you're not gonna reuse this. But anywho, yeah, that's all for the suspension side. Disconnect here, and then you're gonna want to disconnect your ABS. There's a 12mm bolt. Alright, so now that the suspension is done, we're gonna go ahead and start draining the oil and work from the bottom. Alright guys, so we're draining the oil, and now we're gonna start disconnecting the cross member and then the transmission. So there's a 17mm right here, there's two 14s, 17 and a 17. So disconnect those and it'll come right out. Then we're gonna look at the 14, these are 14mm bolts that hold in the engine and the transmission. So we're gonna disconnect them. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 at the bottom. Get these now because you won't be able to get to them when you know you have the engine down on the ground. So you're gonna get these. Already disconnecting them, so just pull them out. And then I can't do this with two hands right now, but yeah, I already got these loose. You know, one 17mm, two 3, and then the two 14. And then the oil is being drained, and yeah. Then we'll start disconnecting the bolts that connect the flex plate and the engine together. So we're gonna go ahead and disconnect those, but I'll wait for the oil to finish so we can get to it. Alright guys, so next we're gonna want to disconnect the flex plate bolts. So you're gonna pry here, pop this out, and then you'll see, you can't see it too good, but there's a flex plate bolt. So there's 4 of these, and they're 17mm. So I already loosened them. To get to the next one, you're gonna want to rotate the crankshaft counterclockwise, and there's a 22mm bolt, and you're gonna want to rotate it like that, and there you go. So you just do that to all 4, get them removed. Next, you're gonna want to disconnect this. there's a CV axle. Well, part of it broke off, but you're gonna just want to pry it, and then it'll come out like that. Pry a little more, and then it's out. And then there's these 17mm bolts to the motor mount, so just disconnect these here, here, and here, and it'll release it and let it move back and forth. You still have the other 2 motor mounts holding it, so no need to worry. Alright guys, next step is disconnecting the subframe like I said. So there's 4 bolts that hold up the subframe, and they're all 19mm. So we have 1, 2, these are in the back facing that way. And then we have 1, this hole right here, that's where you put your socket to get to it. It's up here and up here. I already disconnected them, so disconnect those. And then the only other thing holding up the subframe is the rack and pinion. So we gotta disconnect the bolt from the inside so it'll release. So this and that is holding in the subframe. And then I cut the exhaust right here, but for you guys, you disconnect the bolt here and here so the exhaust wouldn't connect to the engine when you drop the subframe. And then yeah, and then disconnect the O2 sensor. And yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and drop the subframe. Alright guys, so that 12mm bolt, oh shoot, would be right there, right where that hole is. So you remove that, and then it releases the steering column from the rack and pinion, and then we're all good to go. So we're gonna go ahead and disconnect the subframe bolts. When you go to drop the subframe, you're gonna want maybe a wooden pallet or something to catch the subframe so it won't really damage it too much. But yeah, so just put something underneath. Alright guys, now the last bolt to hold the subframe in is here. So there we go. Alright guys, now we're ready to drop the motor. So we're going to disconnect this coolant reservoir. There's 1 12mm. Then we're going to disconnect the motor mount. So it's 14mm, 14mm, 14mm. So all these are going out. And then a 12mm right there. And 14mm, 14mm, and 14. So 3 right here. And then 3 right here. And then a 12. So now that those are all out, you go to the other side. On the other side, you're gonna want to disconnect the computer, which I already did, and then this bracket. So it's a 12 under there, and then 12 down there. And that slides, and then 3 17ths. So 1, 2, 3. Let me get them out. Alright guys, disconnect this. Now moment of truth. We finally disconnected the motor mount, so now we can finally lift it up. So we're gonna lift up the chassis, and there we go. Let's make sure everything's good, everything's disconnected. Just put that there, and yeah, pretty much clear. No wires, everything's disconnected. Cool. We did it. We got the engine, transmission, and subframe out. So to be honest, that's all it is to it. Sorry, it was more of an overview because I couldn't go very into detail because I'm at work currently. But yeah. Alright guys, we finally got it down and it's looking good. So hope this helps you guys out. I'll be doing more videos on this. This is kind of similar to the Lancer, so if you're doing the Lancer, it's pretty much the same thing almost. So yeah, but thank you guys for checking it out. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.